This year marks the 40th anniversary of Mexico's worst ever industrial accident. On the morning of November the 19th, 1984, the small Mexican town of San Juanico would be rocked by a catastrophic event that would leave an indelible scar on the nation's history. It was a disaster that could have been prevented, but instead became one of the world's deadliest industrial accidents. This is the story of the San Juanico LPG explosion. San Juanico, a small suburban town with 40,000 residents, is located just outside Mexico City. In 1962, construction was started by Pemex, Mexico's state-owned oil company, on a liquid petroleum gas storage facility on the outskirts of town. The facility played a critical role in Mexico's oil and gas industry, storing large quantities of liquefied petroleum gas, or LPG as it is commonly known, a highly flammable and potentially explosive substance. The facility consisted of 54 LPG storage tanks, 6 large spherical tanks, as well as 48 smaller horizontal bullet-shaped tanks of various sizes, for a total plant capacity of 16,000 cubic meters, or 570,000 cubic feet. This represented 1/3 of Mexico City's entire LPG supply, and was designed to support the nation's growing demand for energy. 3 refineries supplied the facility with LPG on a daily basis. But the plant's location raised serious concerns. Over time, housing had encroached towards the vicinity of the plant, and it was situated just a few hundred meters from densely populated neighborhoods. But the locals had grown accustomed to the facility, and the risk it posed became a part of daily life. It was a quiet Monday morning on November the 19th, 1984, when the unimaginable happened. The plant was being filled from a refinery 400 kilometers away, as on the previous day it had become almost empty. 2 large spheres and 48 cylindrical vessels were filled to 90%, and 4 smaller spheres to 50% full. At approximately 5:30 a.m, a drop in pressure was noticed in the control room, and also at the pipeline pumping station. An 8-inch pipe between a sphere and a series of cylinders had ruptured. Unfortunately, the operators could not identify the cause of the pressure drop. The leaking gas created a vapor cloud that continued to spread for another 5 to 10 minutes, spreading through the facility and over the nearby residential area. The gas cloud, estimated to be 200 meters by 150 meters in size, drifted to a flare stack and ignited in a vapor cloud explosion, causing violent ground shock and secondary fires on the ground. Workers on the plant now tried to deal with the escape, and it was only at this stage that somebody pressed the emergency shutdown button. But 15 minutes after the initial release, the first BLEVE occurred. BLEVE stands for Boiling Liquid Expanding Vapor Explosion. It's a type of explosion that occurs when a pressurized, flammable liquid-filled vessel ruptures, and the liquid's temperature exceeds its boiling point. When a tank is exposed to sustained heat, such as from a fire, the liquid inside the tank is forced to boil or vaporize, resulting in increased pressure in the tank. As the pressure inside the tank builds, a pressure relief valve activates, venting gases to reduce the pressure in the tank. These vented gases can also be ignited. The liquid inside the tank absorbs the heat applied and helps to keep the vessel walls cool. But as more and more liquid vaporizes, more of the shell of the vessel is exposed, which is not cooled by the internal liquid. The tank wall heats up, which weakens the metal, and eventually the pressure building up inside the tank exceeds the weakened strength of the vessel wall. The tank wall stretches and eventually ruptures. As the tank comes apart, large quantities of liquid and vapor are released in a powerful explosion. The explosion radius can be huge, up to 1,000 meters in size for large vessels. The ruptured tank sections can also become flying missiles, travelling significant distances and causing secondary fires and other damage, including to other tanks nearby. It all happens quickly, with little warning, and those in the immediate vicinity are highly likely to be killed. And this is what happened at San Juanico when one of the LNG tanks exploded. The first explosion was so powerful that it created a fireball over 400 meters wide, sending shock waves across the area and igniting homes, cars and buildings within the blast. The explosion was witnessed by the pilot of a Pan Am flight on approach to the airport, who communicated to air traffic control that he believed a nuclear bomb may have exploded in the city. For the next hour and a half, there followed a series of levies as the LPG vessels violently exploded one by one in a devastating chain reaction, each one sending debris flying in all directions, adding to the chaos and destruction. Some parts of the exploding tanks, weighing up to 30 tons, were found up to 500 meters away from the plant. LPG rained down on surfaces which were set alight, making the situation worse. The explosions were recorded on a seismograph at the University of Mexico, measuring up to 0.5 on the Richter scale. 5 plant workers perished in the blast, but the human toll outside of the plant was horrific. Entire families were wiped out in their sleep, as their homes were engulfed in flames. People were trapped in the streets, unable to escape the inferno that spread throughout the town. Many died instantly in the explosions, whilst others perished from the extreme heat and toxic smoke that filled the air. The thermal radiation from the fires affected people up to 1 mile away. Emergency responders struggled to contain the fire, which burned uncontrollably for hours. With inadequate firefighting equipment and limited access to the site due to the scale of destruction, it was a race against time to prevent further explosions. Many brave men and women, including firefighters, police officers, medics, paramedics and civilians, risked their lives trying to save others. After the last levy, the firemen kept calling the 2 larger unexploded spheres. While this was undoubtedly an act of bravery, they were exposing themselves to further potential levies that would surely have killed them. But eventually, the fires were extinguished, and the horrific task of trying to locate the victims commenced. The official death toll was reported to be between 500 and 600 people, but many believe the real number was even higher, with some people missing to this day. The fire had incinerated most bodies to ashes, with only 2% of victims remaining recognisable. Another 5,000 people were injured, with many suffering severe burns and other life-threatening injuries. Entire neighbourhoods were reduced to rubble, leaving thousands homeless. In the aftermath of the explosion, the Mexican government launched an investigation to determine the cause of the disaster, as well as an investigation by Pemex themselves, but the results from this has never been made fully public. A declaration from the Attorney General pointed to the gas escape having occurred at the row of bullet tanks next to the spheres. The declaration also found Pemex ultimately responsible for the disaster and forced the company to provide funds for compensation. However, a Dutch research team from TNO, who visited the site 2 weeks after the accident, concluded that the initial failure had been caused by overpressurization of pipework between one of the spheres and cylinders. The plant had a history of inadequate pressure relief, and a previous inspection of the site had found missing relief valves on a sphere and inadequate pressure relief on a pipeline after changes. But the accident also highlighted other deficiencies in the plant design. The plant layout was completely inadequate, with the vessels located too close to each other, and the congestion increased the size of the initial vapor cloud explosion. But the close grouping also led to easier escalation in the resulting chain reaction. These days, tanks are spread further apart to reduce congestion and escalation potential. The location of the plant and housing was also inadequate. Housing should never have been allowed to be close to the plant, and modern practices require better land use planning to ensure that major accident hazards on site cannot affect persons off-site. The terminal's fire water system was also disabled in the initial blast, and water spray systems were found to be inadequate. 2 months before the accident, local plant safety committee inspections found that 30 to 40% of safety devices, including fire water sprays, were bypass or non-operational. It was also found that the supports for the tanks were not installed with passive fire protection, which is industry good practice. The larger spheres had collapsed to the ground with their legs buckled due to the heat radiation they received. No gas detection system had been installed, and early gas detection and plant shutdown could have averted the incident. There was also inadequate facility to isolate the affected areas, meaning that fires continued to be fed from the whole site. Finally, emergency response was found to be woefully inadequate, with plant personnel not feeling empowered to shut down production immediately. Emergency services were also hindered by traffic chaos on nearby streets as residents sought to escape the area. The disaster brought about widespread public outrage, with many questioning Pemex's practices and the government's oversight of industrial safety. It became a symbol of corporate negligence and the deadly consequences of putting profit over human lives. In the years that followed, Mexico implemented stricter safety regulations for its oil and gas industry, including improved monitoring systems, better safety equipment, and mandatory evacuation plans for nearby residents. The accident has also been used to advance the knowledge of process safety in industrial plants worldwide. While safety standards have improved, the memories of the San Juanico disaster linger. Survivors still bear the physical and emotional scars of that fateful day, and the families of the victims continue to mourn their lost loved ones. The town itself was rebuilt, but the trauma of what happened in 1984 remains etched in its history. A park now stands on the site of the old LNG plant, with no evidence of the tragic accident that previously occurred there. The San Juanico disaster reminds us of the importance of vigilance, accountability, and the human cost of industrial negligence. It is a story that must not be forgotten, lest history repeats itself. If you have found this video interesting, please like and subscribe to my channel for similar content, and feel free to leave a comment below on what you think about this accident. Stay safe and thank you for watching.